If there were a way to handle any audience question with total confidence without losing control of your talk or the room, would you want to know about it? Because here's the truth. Most speakers nail their talk and then completely unravel during Q&A. They freeze, they ramble, they lose the room, and their hard-earned credibility gone in 60 seconds. Now, why should you listen to me on this topic? I'm Lord Al Jensen, and I've been on stage delivering more than 7,500 messages since 1974. I've conducted more Q&A sessions than your average game show host, and trust me, the key to nailing them isn't having all the answers. It's knowing how to guide the room. I've watched speakers close five-figure clients because of how they handled one question. And I've seen others lose the room because of a single off-the-cuff answer. Now, here's where most speakers go wrong. They treat Q&A like an afterthought, something to just get through instead of a power move that they can control. But what if I told you that mastering the Q&A is actually the final credibility filter for every speaker? And that with a few proven strategies, you could turn those scary moments into client-converting, authority-building, booking-generating gold. That's exactly what we're covering in today's episode. So if you've ever had that sinking feeling when someone raises their hand and you're not sure what's coming next, well, keep listening, because what I'm about to share could change the way you handle Q&A forever. Let's start with a hard truth. Most speakers treat Q&A like an afterthought, and it shows. They spend weeks refining their keynote. They obsess over the perfect opening, the perfect story, the big crescendo moment. But when it comes to audience questions, well, they cross their fingers. They hope for the best and simply wing it. And look, I get it. You don't always know what's coming. It's unpredictable. It's unscripted. It kind of feels like you're giving up control of the room that you just worked so hard to command. But here's the part that really shocked me the most. Q&A is not a threat. It's really an opportunity to show the audience what you're really made of. Because anyone can shine with a rehearsed story, but when the spotlight hits during a live question, well, that's when the real pros stand out. Now, if you've ever walked off stage thinking, I wish I had answered that differently, you're not alone. The good news, you can prep for this. Q&A doesn't have to feel like a minefield, and it all starts with one simple shift. Stop reacting and start leading. Here's what I mean. The biggest mistake I see speakers make is leaving the Q&A wide open. They finish their talk, they smile, and they say, all right, does anyone have any questions? And in that moment, all authority that they just built up starts to slip. Because when you hand over control without a frame, a few things will happen. The questions will get scattered and off topic. The room's energy will drop. And one audience member starts monologuing, and you're just stuck figuring out how to shut it down without being that speaker. But when you frame the Q&A before it begins, you can retain control of the moment and the message. Let me give you a better version, one you can use on your very next talk. Before we wrap up, I'd love to take 2 or 3 quick questions, especially around how you can apply what we've covered today to your business or your current challenges. You see the difference? You're not just opening the floor. You're leading the room. You've told them how many questions you'd like to take. You've told them what kind of questions you're looking for, and at this moment still belongs to you. That's what I call the framing first technique, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. Let me tell you a secret that most people don't know. When you give people a structure, they're going to follow it. Not because you're being bossy, but because you're giving the audience confidence. They know what to expect, and that makes them feel safe, makes them feel seen and respected. And here's where it gets even better. When you own the frame, your answers start to feel less reactive and more intentional. You're not just throwing words out, you're reinforcing your message. You're redirecting energy and creating micro moments of connection with your audience. Which brings me to the next major shift that you'll likely need to make. You don't answer to impress, you answer to serve. And that means you don't fall into the trap of trying to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to give a 3-minute dissertation on every question. You don't even need to know everything. Your job during the Q&A is to guide, to clarify, and remind the audience of the core transformation that you're there to deliver. Now, here's the formula that I coach my private clients to use. Number one, validate the question. Hey, that's a great question. I know a lot of people wrestle with that. Number two, bridge to your message. Now, based on what we've just covered, here's how I think about that. Number three, deliver a clear and confident response. Number four, loop back to the outcome. And that's why the process we just walked through is so powerful. So do you see what that does? It doesn't just answer the question. It reinforces your message. It keeps the audience focused. And it shows them you're the real deal, not just a presenter, but a leader. Now, here's something that most speakers miss. You can predict 90% of the questions that you're going to get, even before you step on stage. There's patterns, and I've tracked them across industries, across audiences, and every event type. And inside the mini course that goes with this episode, the Next Stage Q&A Mastery Formula, I give you the exact scripts and strategies for the 6 most common types of questions that you're going to hear. So let me give you a preview right now. You're going to face questions like the clarifier. Can you explain that part again? You're going to get questions from the doubter. But what if this doesn't work for my industry? You're going to get questions from the hijacker. I actually disagree with what you just said. You're going to get questions that take you down the rabbit hole. What's your opinion on that research study from 2002? You're going to face questions like the testimonial that's disguised as a question. Well, here's what I do, and it works great. Does that sound familiar? Every one of those requires a different energy, a different strategy, and a different way of handling the room. If you're not prepared for those moments, they will throw you off. But once you learn how to spot them and respond with confidence, you start to own the room in a way that most speakers never will. Now, this next part is crucial, so pay close attention. Because in the next portion of this episode, I'm going to show you what to do when things go sideways during a Q&A. I'll show you how to shut down a rambler without turning the room against you, and how to wrap up Q&A in a way that leads seamlessly into your close. Stick around. You're about to get the tools that separate the rookies from the pros. So let's talk about what really makes or breaks a speaker during Q&A. Not the answers, not the questions. It's how they handle tension. Because here's the deal. Something will go sideways. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And the way you respond in that moment tells the audience everything they need to know about your confidence, about your leadership, and your credibility. Let me walk you through a few scenarios that I've seen play out more times than I can count, and how you can handle them like a pro. Number one, the rambler, also known as the one guy who just won't shut up. You probably met this person. They really don't have a question. They just want the mic. They want attention. And if you're not careful, they'll hijack the energy of the entire room. So what do? You interrupt without being rude. Now, here's a phrase that works like magic. Hey, I really appreciate your perspective. Let me jump in so we can make space for one more question before we wrap up. You've acknowledged them, you've taken back control, and you've moved the room forward, all without turning the energy combative. So always position your agenda as service to the group. It keeps the audience on your side. Number two is the sniper. Hostile, loaded, or confrontational questions. Every now and again, you're going to get a question that feels less like curiosity and more like a challenge. This could be someone who disagrees, someone who's trying to one-up you, or someone with a chip on their shoulder. The key here is emotional control. You must avoid getting defensive, even if they're clearly trying to provoke you. Try this. That's a great question, and I can tell that's something you're really passionate about. Let me offer my perspective, and then I'll share how that connects with what you've been talking about today. The key here is emotional control. You must avoid getting defensive, even if they're clearly trying to provoke you. Try something like this. Hey, that's a great question, and I can tell that's something you're really passionate about. Let me offer my perspective, and then I'll share how that connects with what we've been talking about today. Boom. You just validated the emotion without agreeing with the challenge. You've just recentered the room and taken power back without looking triggered. And that's the name of the game. In Q&A, you always lead the energy. Always. Number three, when you don't know the answer. Now, here's a curveball that even great speakers sweat. What happens when you genuinely don't know the answer to a question? Here's what you don't do. Don't fake it. Don't ramble, and don't wing it. Here's what you should do. You know what? That is a great question, and I want to give you a thoughtful answer. I don't have the full picture on that right now, but I'm happy to follow up after the presentation and point you in the right direction. That one sentence, that's a total authority move. Why? Because it shows you're honest. It shows you care, and you're not afraid to say, I don't know, without losing control or respect. And let me tell you, your audience will trust you more because of it. Now let's talk about how to close out a Q&A session like a pro. Most speakers just wrap up Q&A with something weak like, okay, I guess that's it. Thanks, everybody. Nope, not you. You are better than that. Remember, you're the one driving the energy of the room. So when you finish Q&A, your next move is critical. You need to pivot back to your core message and close with impact. So here is a go-to script that you can make your own. All right, these were powerful questions, and I love how engaged you've been. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. And then you give them your core message, your final insight, and most importantly, your call to action, just like you do in a regular talk close. That moment reclaims your authority. It reminds the audience that you are the guide, and it leaves them with your message, not just the last random question. So let me close this out with a final thought. Q&A is the last impression, and the last impression always lingers the longest. And that's why you need to treat it like a performance within your performance. When you frame it, you lead it, and you close it with intention, you don't just look like a better speaker, you become one. You stand out, you get remembered, and you get rebooked. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to actually practice these strategies, if you want to prep your custom responses and start walking into Q&A like you own the room, well, stick around because I've created something just for you. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from today's episode, it's this. Q&A isn't a gamble. It's a skill. And once you learn how to lead the room, no matter what questions come your way, you stop dreading the Q&A segment and start using it to boost your authority, your impact, and your income. Because the real pros, they don't just give great presentations. They own every moment, including the ones that they can't predict. And if you're ready to turn those unpredictable Q&A moments into confident, controlled, and client-generating opportunities, I've created something just for you. It's called the Next Stage Q&A Mastery Formula. That's a mini course designed to show you exactly how to take control of any Q&A session without looking rigid or rehearsed. It'll show you exactly how to handle aggressive, rambling, or off-topic questions with calm authority, how to redirect the energy in the room without losing trust, and how to use Q&A to reinforce your message and position yourself as the go-to expert. And most importantly, you'll learn how to end your talk on your terms every single time. You'll get plug-and-play frameworks, response scripts, and real-world strategies that'll transform the way you approach audience questions, whether you're speaking live, virtually, on stage, or on camera. Just $37. And listen, I've built this to be practical, tactical, and instantly usable. There's no fluff, no filler, just the tools you need to lead every Q&A like a total pro. So click the link in the show notes to grab your Next Stage Q&A Mastery Formula and start showing up with the confidence and control of a top-tier speaker. Own the questions, own the stage, and own the opportunity. I can't wait to see you on the next stage.